The information that SWIFT essentially indicated that Ripple is a bank is going to be revealed to you today, which is going to build on the two films that we have created in the past. The reason for this will be explained in a moment, but before I do so, I will first discuss some incredibly fascinating information regarding Ripple and SWIFT and their histories. In addition to that, I will demonstrate some video footage from 2019 that I am certain you will find to be completely fascinating. It is important that you pay attention to how this started, since even at that early stage, they were aware that things may become heated. As they prepared for this panel, they came to the conclusion that this strategy would not be successful. The talk and debate that will ensue from this will be highly fascinating. Your presence is really appreciated, and we have made it a point to encourage a vibrant and polite conversation with the amazing lineup that you have assembled. Both Gaudry Lybrand, the CEO of SWIFT, and Brad GH, the House CEO of Ripple, are currently on stage together, and I believe this is the first time that they have presented together. SWIFT did, in fact, put Ripple out of business. The statement begins with the phrase, let's be respectful. Soon I will demonstrate it to you. You are aware of what transpired, right? SWIFT's chief executive officer was able to sense that things were becoming a touch heated. During that particular period, almost everyone was acting as if everything was lovely and didn't smell. Despite the fact that it is unnerving, if you view the complete movie, you will absolutely comprehend what I am referring about. Ripple and SWIFT have been working together for a very long time. In the year 2016, the event was held in Singapore, and a few members of our team were also there at the time. SWIFT was thinking, what the heck is going on, because everyone else was hanging out at Ripple and CBOs. By preventing Ripple from joining Renault in 2024, they were able to put SWIFT ahead of them the next year. Holy cow. Ripple was never required to respond to a follow-up request because of this reason. Consequently, this is the article from 2016. SWIFT stirs up chief business officers CBOs by announcing the winners of a blockchain sweepstakes, and Ripple was as well. The technology behind distributed ledgers is utilized by the firm known as Ripple. It had formed a partnership with 6 foreign banks in order to establish a network that was capable of settling transactions in a practically instantaneous manner. And in 2017, Ripple introduced the CBOS killer distribution, which was a little conference of its own. Are you able to fathom that the ledger startup Ripple is going to conduct a rival conference this autumn in order to increase the level of competition it has with SWIFT, which is a firm that provides financial services? Audacious act was carried out on the same day and in the same city as the previous act. The CBOS event that was SWIFT's flagship event took place in Toronto. On the other hand, absolutely everyone who had intended to go to it ended up going to Ripple Swell instead. Naturally, SWIFT was upset with this conclusion, which prompted the CEO of Ripple to publicly emphasize that they were not attempting to dominate CBOs with their blockchain event that was held on the same day. The manner in which JP Morgan actively sought Ripple and XRP was presented to us. As a follow-up to the footage that was released today, we have additional evidence that the absolute finest players are currently seated in SWIFT's chair. A little snapshot fragment from the Ripple Swell that occurred in 2017 is presented here. On the other hand, in the case of deep liquidity sources, a bank will be considered. Okay, are you all prepared to deal with this situation? To put it simply, you are the point at which I even begin. Prepare yourselves, gentlemen, for something that will blow your mind. Play this video clip, and here is where the Chief Executive Officer of SWIFT is located. They are talking about how they do not have sufficient deep liquidity and how much they require it. Moreover, CSXRP is essentially unpredictable. Banks are not going to accept coins as payment. However, he claims that there is not a significant amount of liquidity in the market because there is an excessive amount of volatility. These findings are consistent with the argument made by Tyron Lin that the implementation of USDC is essential. What are your plans for amassing $10 trillion? In what manner do you intend to deal with the situation? What are your current circumstances like? Are you capable of properly managing $1 trillion? What are you doing, people? This is very beautiful. That is the bare minimum. When financial institutions speak, they are being truthful. If you listen to them, you might hear something different from what we say. It is not something that they are comfortable changing. The volatility has caused it to transform into a currency, namely a cryptocurrency at the present. When I talk about the $10 trillion that we process every night, and you take into consideration the fact that you have to fully reserve $10 trillion in order to be able to make those payments every day, that is a significant amount of liquidity that you are removing out of the system. You have come to the realization that the system is becoming increasingly inefficient. In addition, liquidity is something of a mystery. You do not have the same level of deep liquidity that you do in currencies, which is the reason for this. Take, for instance, the dollar, which serves as a clearing unit at the conclusion of each day. When we talk about liquidity, we are referring to the depth of the market. This implies that if I wanted to send you hundreds of Spanx right now, I could do it. The key to making that work is that there is frequently not enough liquidity there. I could try to find 100 pairs of Spanx for 100 euros to make up for the pounds. It is possible that there is insufficient liquidity between Swiss francs and pounds of currency. If I were to send $100 million every single day, but there could be more. If I send $100 million, I might find a counterpart, but if I send $100 million, I might not find a counterpart. After you have previously transferred all of your available funds, we will have more liquidity if we transfer all of our available funds to a single currency type. This will allow us to better manage our finances, work on developing a pricing structure that is more efficient. They may tell you different things when they speak with us, but the banks are hesitant to convert anything into Bitcoin at the present owing to the volatility of the cryptocurrency market. At the very least, they may tell you different things. The fact that banks are not ready for a model that entails turning money into cryptocurrencies and vice versa is revealed by the fact that they engage with one another. One of the reasons for this is that the currencies do not possess the same level of deep liquidity that, for example, the dollar provides as a clearing unit at the end of the day. This lack of liquidity is related with a wide range of problems. Because I believe there is dispute surrounding crypto, but that is a whole other issue. This is not really a separate conversation because it is not really a distinct discussion. Regulation, volatility, and everything else that is being discussed in relation to cryptocurrency are all topics that are being contested, but it is an entirely separate issue. Two crucial factors to this issue, as Gottfried mentioned before, make it less of a separate dispute than it would otherwise be. The current version of SWIFT is a framework for one-way messaging. A source of liquidity is not provided by it. If we are looking for a worthwhile online service, SWIFT messaging is a good option because it perfectly complements bank liquidity. It integrates a wide variety of frameworks for two-way communication, and when you combine such frameworks with real-time liquidity, it makes transitioning to a protocol that functions in real time is something that can be done. You should know that volatility is nothing more than a mathematical computation of duration multiplied by volatility. For example, suppose you hold FIY4 for a considerable amount of time. At the present time, the typical SWIFT transaction takes approximately 180,000 seconds, which is equivalent to 2 days. The duration of an XRP transaction, on the other hand, is 3 seconds. In mathematical terms, this indicates that when comparing a high volatility asset to a short period or low volatility asset to a long duration fiat, there is less volatility. This is because the former is more volatile than the latter. An XRP transaction now carries a lower level of risk than a transaction involving fiat currency. It was JP Morgan executives who were in charge of JP Swift. Now everybody, stand up. The dollar is now being utilized by Morgan as a clearing unit. Due to the fact that Ripple and banks both provide lines of credit, it will be necessary for Ripple to register as a bank after it has established itself as the company that provides the greatest amount of liquidity. I am referring to the fact that we will elaborate further on this topic, but for the time being, PSPs and banks are vulnerable to Ripple. The reason that JP Morgan and SWIFT have significant stake in Ripple is because of this. It appears like you people are ready for this. You are going to be taken aback by it entirely. Take a look at the previous chairman of both JP Morgan and Citibank, including SWIFT. This cannot be made up in any way. 20 years were spent working at JP Morgan, 16 years were spent at Citibank, and 16 years were spent at SWIFT by the current chairman of JP Morgan. For the past 3 decades, Grant and Monroe have been employed by JP Morgan. For those of you who are new to my channel, I have uploaded films in which I explain how JP Morgan has been interested in Ripple from the very beginning. On the other hand, I think it completely ludicrous that JP Morgan has been employing the chairman of SWIFT JP Morgan executives for the past 6 to 10 years. It is only going to get more complicated.